Greetings, survivors and friends. SHADOWFRAX here with your roundup from the ground up of how things are going in Rust development, where this week we have untextured panthers and rebuildable deployables. But first, when I was recording last week's vid, the Frontier High Wall skin wasn't working, but I can show it to you today, and here it is in all its wooden glory, and you'll notice that there are in fact 3 different versions of the wall now with slightly different barriers. You don't have a choice as to which one when you're placing it, but you can get the one you want by reskinning repeatedly with the spray can. Unlike the Adobe ones, the Frontier versions are going to be devoid of wire defenses, making them easier to scale. However, they do all have this walkway on which can be deployed certain deployables, such as rocking chairs, naturally, and of course turrets. Although with the latter, the placement rules are a bit janky at the moment. It seems to have something to do with the angle that the wall is at, but when this is fixed you'll want to put them in front of the gaps in the railings, I'd imagine anyway. I haven't checked every deployable. The placement rules are a bit finicky, as I say. Sandbag barricades work in places, and basically most small to medium sized deployables in the items tab seem to work at the moment, including sleeping bags, workbenches, lockers and small planters, etc, etc. This is, of course, like all things, subject to change. Just note that if the wall's destroyed, then bang goes anything on it as well. Oh, and now you won't be able to reskin high walls if they've been recently damaged or have a ladder or C4 attached to them. The Adobe wall skins are going to be available next month, I believe. However, I'm told that the Frontier ones will be coming in at a later date, and I know that 1 or 2 of you in the comments last week were very pleased that the Adobe was going to be a separate DLC and not included in the main skin pack. I double checked, as I had heard rumours to the contrary, but this is still the case. I assume the same will apply to the Frontier, but I can't confirm. There are some changes coming to rug placement mechanics, which will let you put them down under already placed deployables and even under players' feet. Something I missed last week on staging was that you'll soon be able to put parachutes on weapon racks too. There's some balances to bees and swarms coming in. The damage dealt by both single bees and bee swarms has been rebalanced. Additionally, bee damage, regardless of its type, will no longer cause bleeding. Changes to beehives include making the temperature of the beehive visible to players, plus an indication of whether honeycomb is currently being produced, and it's now also possible to operate a beehive in cold environments like snow, provided there are sufficient heaters. Impact decals on staging now have some randomization in scale and rotation, just to make things a little bit more interesting visually, and the team are making some significant changes to Softcore mode over on the Orxo 2 branch at the moment to make it even more softcore, it seems. First, there will be a 25% reduction in bullet damage when the attacker is another player. NPC damage remains the same, and there will be a convar to adjust this, which is server.pvp bullet damage multiplier. Another convar, keep T on death, which I believe will be on by default, will allow T effects to carry over after you respawn. The reclaim terminals are being removed from Outpost and Bandit Camp, and you will automatically reclaim your items on respawn without having to run back to your corpse, although there will be a refresh timer on this, I believe. And in another big change, deployables, when destroyed, will leave behind a corpse that will decay along with the building, but can be rebuilt for 50% of the original crafting cost. TCs will also leave a corpse behind, but in addition, an invisible TC will still be there, like some kind of force ghost, which will be immune to damage and has a decay timer of 48 hours. During this time, it will retain building auth and ownership in its radius and will prevent building by anyone until it's repaired. Let me know what you think to these changes if you're one of those people who prefer the Rust Lite experience. In the commits, there's a lot going on to welcome us to the jungle, and I wouldn't be surprised if they call this one the Welcome to the Jungle update or something. And some untextured images have snuck out and are doing the rounds, which to be fair are out in the wild now and lots of people have seen them, so I'll show you a couple, although these are not indicative of the final product, of course, and fair spoiler alert warning, although really, it's not that much of a spoiler if you've ever been to a zoo. Last week I showed you this artist's rendition of what the new jungle update might look like, so let's see how accurate it was. And yes, it was very accurate indeed, it would seem. Here is the untextured croc model. Well, I mean, what were you expecting? Here's a tiger.
Tiger. Tiger.
Ah, isn't he cute? And his slightly more hirsute brother, the panther, who has some terrific eyebrows. There's a snake that looks like it's trying to disguise itself as a baguette. And lastly, the blowpipe, with what looks to be 4 different ammo types. And according to the commits, there are mentions of wood, radiation, scattershot, and incapacitate darts. And the last one seems to make use of venom that will be gained from killing the snakes. There's a ton of other work going on with the biome itself, with all the new trees and vines that can be swung from, ziggurat monuments, an outbreak scientist, and a boomerang, which according to recent commits, can be caught again by the player who threw it and will also stick into surfaces if it hits them. All of this is getting quite close to the testing phase now, which means probably in the next few weeks we'll all be able to grab our mosquito repellent and put it through its paces, and I hope to be able to bring you some properly textured images of this stuff soon, so sub and stay tuned. Right, you are up to date, so please leave a like and a comment below. You can support the channel here with super thanks, YouTube memberships and via Patreon. Also check me out on my socials, including my Steam group, to stay in the loop. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
Tiger. Tiger.